Hey, what's up, guys? Sam here, and I'll be doing the free video for April 29th, 2022. Another week is in the books here. Pretty high volume, very volatile week. Kind of a given the FANG earnings, and certainly a proper end to the week with Amazon down, what was it, 13, 14%. So a real proper smackdown there on the tech earnings. But more importantly, I think in this video, what I want to concentrate on with you guys is just the SPY, the VIX, and then the one thing that I'm willing to be long. Everything else has to be off the table, in my opinion, at least for now. The main thing also, before we get started here with SPY, is be aware that next week on May 4th is going to be the Fed meeting where they're going to decide the interest rate hike. It's already priced in for 50, mostly. They could surprise, but it's unlikely, it seems like. So the guidance that they provide will be kind of at the top of everyone's mind. And then also keep in mind that on May 4th is also the day where Russia has to make a bond payment, or they would be considered to be in default. So both of those dates, or both of those days, line up on May 4th. So let's start here with SPY. Very dangerous pattern here on SPY. It seems like it's already gotten whacked. It certainly has, but the problem is, can it get even more whacked? And that's kind of the issue. So I'd like to direct you over here to this chart on the far left. And you see how the last time that you had a buy signal was back there during COVID? And that buy signal took you from all the way there, all the way up, right? Very fun. You got a sell signal for the first time after, almost 2 years. And then you got a buy signal down here at the lows. This buy signal, I've seen that maybe 5, 6 times in the last 10 years on the SPY. And each time it's worked out like this. Maybe not to that extent where it goes up, almost a triple, or at least a double. But each time it's worked out. This is the first time in at least 5, maybe longer years that I've seen the sell signal actually trigger, or the buy signal trigger, and then cancel itself out. And it canceled itself out a few weeks ago, actually. So you now have kind of a pattern shift, right? You have the pattern shifting from the buy signal being very reliable and consistent, and now you have a buy signal that immediately canceled itself out. That's significant, and you should pay attention to it. Because now that it's canceled itself out, you're going to need to see another buy signal in order to justify getting long, and you're very far away from that. If you look at the left of the chart here, there's not a lot of structure to anchor to, right? Normally you would be able to anchor to like a previous major kind of congestion zone. That's a previous high, kind of comes down. You need a little bit of a base, right? You need a little bit of a kind of sideways trade before it goes up, and then you can use that sideways trade as support and resistance. But when it goes straight up like this, you don't really have that, right? So it is still holding the 410 lows for what that's worth. But in the event that those break, and they will, it's just a matter of, do we get a short squeeze into next week first? But when the lows break, I'm actually looking for this to retest the weekly 200, which is going to be right around 350 on the SPY. So significant downside from here, and all of the indicators kind of confirm this. You have a low compression squeeze, you have your trend oscillators completely on the wrong side, and the red line is sloping lower, and you have the active thrust lower here. So be very cautious out there. There is a potential for a short squeeze after May 4th, but I don't expect for it to stick, and I do expect for us to take out the lows on SPY. Then we go to the VIX-N. Actually, I'm going to curve fit this a little bit. I'm going to show it to you on the UVIXY. Because it's a relatively clean signal. So here on the UVIXY, and mind you, if this goes up, they're going to sell almost everything. You see how you have a flat bottom here? So you have a kind of a low here, and then you have the same low here. But you see how the indicator is actually going up? The whole time it's made a positive divergence where the momentum is actually higher here than it was back here. So the price stayed the same, but the momentum going into this low is actually significantly more bullish. And you're already starting to get the push higher off of that. So you start to target here on UVIXY right around 23, which is the previous swing high. So anywhere between 23 to 22, you start to target there. This could be the pattern, though, that takes it even above that. So you don't want to get too greedy, right? At first, you target 22 to 23, right in here, very professionally drawn. But if it gets above that, then things get a lot more interesting really, really quickly. So this is a big, big, big signal here. This divergence did not happen by accident, and it is a major warning sign of potential problems yet to come. One more thing I do want to share with you here, and this is a chart. This is a little out of date now. I posted this earlier in the week, but this is the weekly chart of the SMH, or the semiconductors. This is a leading indicator for almost everything, really. And you can see that back here during COVID, this was the beginning of COVID, you got a crash, right? Just like everything else, and it crashed and it landed perfectly on its weekly 200. But do you see how the moving averages stayed green, blue, and red? So they stayed structured. At this point, you don't have that anymore. So even though even though it crashed pretty heavily during COVID, do you see here how now, for the first time, you actually have the blue, the green crossing bearishly through the blue? That is not particularly good, because what I believe is that SMH is actually showing the playbook for lower prices in the QQQ. So where does that leave us as a logical target? Well, you do have a little bit of structure here, right in here. But in reality, I would look for the same level that it bounced off of in COVID, which would be, again, the weekly 200, right around 180 on SMH. So you can see here how the SMH is leading the market, in my opinion, lower, with a target market-wide of whatever product you're looking at, the weekly 200 on that product. So be aware of the risk next week, right? There's going to be a lot of risk, May 4th specifically. The only thing that I was willing to be long here was actually crude. And there's a decent chance that even crude might get hit here, right? Because if they start liquidating market-wide, they'll liquidate everything, including crude. But this was the one thing that I was willing to be long into the weekend. So here on crude, and this is the Crude Futures, CL, if you want to play it a little bit more safe, I think you can wait for a daily close above 108. Right? But kind of seeing a little bit of a compression range here, and looking to see if they can take out the 108 level, and then you target right around 116, 117 as the next major level. This is probably still the only chart that's left standing in terms of structure. Well, commodities in general are frankly still left standing. Nat gas looks decent, the grains look decent, and crude oil here looks decent. So going into next week, again, be very mindful of the indices and VIX, and I wouldn't really even do any scans this weekend, right? Because if you pull up FinViz or anything that has a heat map, you'll see that 90% of the, probably even over that, but at least 90% of the market was lower today, right? So there really isn't anywhere that you can genuinely hide in terms of like, oh, I'll rotate into energy or I'll rotate into staples. So in this weekend, when you're doing your chart work, I would really just focus on the SPY, the QQQ, and the VIX products, and make sure you have your levels and you have those marked off on your chart so that you can make the necessary actions, long and short, against those levels going into next week. It's only going to be until the VIX comes down back below 30 that you could potentially get some rotation back into some of those stronger relative strength sectors. But with the VIX over 30, there's going to be no rotation. So understand that dynamic and be prepared to trade it, right? And also, if you're newer, don't feel any kind of way about being flat going into the Fed announcement, right? If you're a little bit more advanced, then I certainly, with a VIX above 25, I certainly think day trading this and being flat and starting the day flat and then just day trading it and keeping your risk controlled with a day trading mindset makes the most sense with a VIX over 30, because the volatility is certainly plentiful, and swing trading with a VIX over 30 is not fun. So a couple of bits of what I'm going to be doing next week. And then aside from that, guys, thanks as always for stopping by. Before you pop off to another video, leave us a like. Leave us a subscribe if you're not subscribed. I think most of you guys that watch our videos actually aren't subscribed. So if you could, just go ahead and hit the subscribe button there. It really does help us with the algorithm. And I will see you for the next video, guys. Have a great weekend. Cheers. Hey guys, this is Sam, and I'm the Director of Equities at Simpler Trading. I want to thank you for watching this video, and before you go somewhere else on the YouTube, I'd like to ask that you comment and like the video. It really does help us out with the algorithm and getting the message out to more folks who like to see our content. Also, be sure to click the bell notification and subscribe to our channel so that you never miss anything that comes out. If you want to watch us trade in real time using our own money, come over to simplertrading.com and learn how to sign up. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and we'll see you for the next video. Cheers.